or forever. All they had to do is bite the bullet and say, okay, we're doing an immigration pause. Just pause immigration, and suddenly you can get away with so much more social democratic stuff.
Yeah, but here's
single payer, all of that. You just
yeah, totally. Yeah, the one thing that was stopping Americans from doing socialism was the immigration. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, any day now, chat. Any day now, we're gonna have bountiful social democracy. Any moment now, dude. It's slated to happen. Trust, dude. Trust. These people have fucking brainworms. I mean, they don't believe what they're saying either, honestly. The only part that is important about this commentary that I think holds weight is that they also personally recognize the dangers of left-wing economic populism. That's the only thing you should take seriously. That's it. They know how hard it is to go up against left-wing economic populism, a resounding message that hyper focuses on people's material realities and addresses them, and personally has real actionable solutions that will make people's lives better. There is no counter to that from the Republican Party. But luckily enough for the Republican Party, they don't ever have to counter that because the Democrats are not interested in that whatsoever. A better example, New Deal era Democrats held the U.S. House for more than 60 years, mid-30s to the mid-90s. Davy on Theo's podcast again and talked about Trump. Oh, yeah, this was fantastic conversation. I want to go on Theo Vaughn's podcast as well. I think it'd be a cool back and forth. I have heard some sussy shit from him a little bit, but I've heard some sussy shit from him, but overall I think it's good to speak to someone like that. I think he's overall very open-minded.
The bullet and say it's okay to restrict immigration and not make it this deranged priority to replace the citizens of your own country and gloat about it and how you're getting a better group of people in. If you don't do that, you can win elections.
But Blake,
the Young Turks had it figured out. Just one sec. I'm telling you, Cenk and Anna Kasparian, they were nice having them on the show. They saw it, and I was like, geez, if they run that campaign, that's dangerous. I hope this gets clipped up and sent to them because they were completely ignored by the Democrat Party. Like, completely ignored.
Oh, they were put in a corner.
And exactly. And they were the only ones that understood.
You would not be beating the anti-Semite allegations if you went on that pod, brother. No, I think that first of all, Gabor Mate's been on that podcast. Bernie Sanders and Gabor Mate. So that's crazy. Like, I can't, that is why it is such a wild situation that man went from talking to Gabor Mate to being like, yeah, I don't really understand. It means like left-wing Jews are controlling the media to do anti-white racism. I don't know. How the fuck do you do that? How do you, there is not any time lost in between that process. That shit is kind of alarming. But in any case, it's bizarre as hell because Charlie Kirk's political instincts are cheeks. No, I think these guys understand that left-wing economic populism is resilient and strong and popular and would be a real fight that they would have to go up against. But Republicans are so lucky that they never have to fight against that. And then they can always fight on their own terms by constantly making a big fuss about hyper-specific, marginalized populations that have no fucking, no counter-messaging platform and no strategy to advocate for their humanity. Okay? It's fantastic. Democrats never give them something to fight against because Democrats don't fight for anything. That's it. On the simplest terms, if you don't want to think about the underlying material harm and what the Democrats must do to go against their own corporate benefactors to solve some of these systemic issues. If you don't want to talk about policy like that, think about it in the simplest terms possible. If the Democrats give something to the Republicans to fight against, if they push the boundary in a certain direction, Republicans are going to hyper-focus on that. If you do Medicare for all, they're going to go, oh, we don't want that. That's communism. That's socialism. That's bad. That's bad. Make them make that argument. Show them as the immoral, corporate-backed, parasitic monsters that they are. Just dangle it in front of them. Dangle anything in front of them, and they'll grab onto it. And in that process, they won't have any time to shit on trans people because now they're just hyper-focused on an actual actionable policy that they must undermine because they are slaves to the corporate benefactors. That's it. But Democrats don't do that because Democrats themselves are also reactionary. So they end up getting dominated by the Republicans. They end up getting dominated by the Republicans over and over again. Didn't work for abortion, though. Is this really different? Brother, what are you talking about? The abortion issue is exactly what I'm talking about. The Republicans undermined civil liberties for Americans across the board. 50% of Americans lost their opportunity to be able to get this medical procedure done, all right? They removed from entire chunks of the population, especially in red states, women's bodily autonomy, right? They took that away. And then liberals came up after that and tried to fundraise off of that. That's another example of the Republicans pushing the boundaries, pushing the political conversation, pushing people's understanding of American politics further and further into the right. Democrats played catch up in that situation. If they actually had a solution for it, they would have actively whipped the votes and instilled a moral panic towards abortion a long time ago. They would have utilized the bully pulpit and would have gotten enough assurances okay? And they would have turned around. They would have turned around and they would have secured the people's right to get medical coverage. Anyway. What is this? Dan Saltman mentioned in a P. Diddy article. Rumors swirl that Diddy and Ashton Kutcher used Tiny Chat to flirt with underage girls. The celebs helped Tiny Chat raise $1.5 million before Diddy's September 2024 arrest for sex trafficking and racketeering. What? In addition to acknowledging the actors, Mike covered this. In September 2024, Sean Diddy Combs was arrested following a string of sexual assault and domestic abuse allegations. In addition to acknowledging the actor's ties to men who allegedly engaged in predatory behavior, the celebs' joint involvement. Tiny Chat is also being called into question. A TikTok account claimed Ashton Kutcher and Sean Diddy Combs invested in the platform to chat with underage girls freely. I mean, this is Distractify. I don't know how valid this is. Diddy and Ashton Kutcher have been accused of flirting with teenage girls on Tiny Chat. In 2011, Kutcher and Combs were two of Tiny Chat's earliest investors. Per its business profile, the company was founded by Cole Turner, Martin Redman, and Daniel Saltman. Damn. Destiny's podcast co-host and Mr. Adpocalypse is definitely happening. I promise you. Why don't you guys understand? Look at how many times we've posted on LSF. And Michael Steiner, Curtin, TechCrunch, Combs, and Kutcher helped other investors, including Madonna's former manager, Guy Ozeri, raise $1.5 million to get the video chat service comparable to Chat Roulette off the ground. The site was first tested in 2009 and included live chat rooms. However, according to September 27, 2024, TikTok user from I'm Not Famous Anymore, they used the account for sinister reasons. The account that claimed the celebs would often flirt with teenage girls. I mean, this is not valid evidence. I don't think there's a lot of, you got a pretty smile for a girl with those dimples, Combs tells the fan in the clip. Wait, what? Come on, this is a different guy. Wait, no. Dan Saltman, the same Dan Saltman that has been doing the Twitch adpocalypse shit is the guy who is the owner of Tiny Chat. I think it's the same guy, isn't it? Yeah, no, he did make no, Dan Can't Stream, Dan Saltman is the guy who made Tiny Chat. That's correct. What is this? Got any plans December 8th? What does that mean? Why so ominous? When people say stuff like that, I just don't understand. Like, what are you going to kill me? That's the lookalike contest thing? Oh, okay. Okay. No, I do have plans that day. Yeah, no, he owns this. He owns Tiny Chat. It was like, it's definitely his. That part is not shocking. And the fact that Diddy was fundraising for it alongside Ashton Kutcher, that's also not that shocking. Rich people fucking invest in a whole bunch of stuff. The part of this that makes it weird, the part of this that would make it weird is if Diddy was actually using the website to talk to minors. But even then, there's no assurances that Dan Saltman personally knew that Diddy was using it to do such a thing. So unlike people who routinely lie about me and use any and every opportunity to slander me, attack everyone in my orbit regularly, I'm not going to participate in that sort of thing. So despite the fact that yes, Dan Saltman does own Tiny Chat or did own Tiny Chat and fundraise off of Ashton Kutcher and Diddy, I don't know if he knew the extent of how much Diddy was using it. It's not a good look, but until there's more evidence, I will hold off on jumping on this bandwagon. He has a whole long list of other shit you can criticize the dude for. No need to go into conspiracy shit. I mean, Tiny Chat is a weird website. Man, I don't really know enough about Tiny Chat to be very honest with you. Yeah. So, all right. Where was I? Oh, we were talking about Charlie Kirk giving props to Unc.
Dude, like you could have expanded the Democrat base. That would have been so scary to run against. If they would have run on like legalization of weed, universal basic income, strict immigration. I'm serious. Strict immigration, ending the wars, like the old Bernie Sanders portfolio.
Yeah.
Instead, Kamala went for the cheap corporate cash. And because everyone said you need to finance your campaign against Trump. And
well, here's the reason why, though, Charlie. and I think we figured this out, is that the only way that the uniparty hacks can fund war is by open borders.
What are you saying? Uniparty hacks? Bitch, your president is the number one uniparty hack. He's putting Marco Rubio in charge of the fucking State Department. Like, what are you talking about? These guys live on an alternative plane of existence. They like fantasize that Donald Trump is actually this secretly based anti-war guy. And then they act like they're all shocked and shit when he's not. I guess it doesn't really matter. Like, they don't really care. They like the war that Donald Trump also facilitates, participates in. And yeah, I don't know. They just act like it's a real nuisance. Oh man, I am really upset. I am really personally upset that Donald Trump is continuing the wars, but like, I don't think he gives a shit. New leftist British meta drop. Check out Jimmy the Giant's video about the UK rights on YouTube. Right winger turned leftist who seems to be on the exact same page as you. Incredible video. Maybe we'll look at it later.
It's very clear. They have to be able to fund the entire enterprise of war through this, or they're tied together, lockstep, at the hip. They have to do all of that, and that's what's being exposed right now. Is that you have all these people who've committed themselves to war, and they've committed themselves to China and cheap labor, and so open borders, China, and big war propaganda is them. That's them. And this is what Donald Trump has exposed. This is what this entire movement has exposed. And it's the most critical time that it could possibly ever happen, because if we had not won, who knows what would happen? We would have been in World War III, subservient to China for the rest of our lives, and we wouldn't have a culture here at all. There would be no American culture. It would be completely overrun. All that takes a step back, and we'd be able to move forward and continue to create an American culture that's important to the future of the country.
Okay, the last part of this was just like psychotic hallucinations. The only important takeaway from this is that Charlie Kirk and others within the Republican commentary field understand the value of left-wing economic populism. And when Republicans or when Democrats themselves do not value that and fill the space with any sort of serious commentary or any sort of like reasonable policy prescriptions, ultimately, the Republicans can lie about it. Yeah, don't watch that Jimmy the Giant vid. He thinks D's a leftist and praises him. I mean, everyone has their own journey of de-radicalization. I won't fault someone for looking at Destiny as a successful person that pulled them away from like right-wing radicalization. You never know how much these people ride or die for these content creators. Think about the average person who knows who the fuck I am, for example. They don't know everything about me. They don't know what my entire scope, or my entire worldview looks like. But regardless, did you ever see yourself slipping down a radicalization path? Certainly. Yes. I was a young man at a certain point.
People truly.
That is like prime for radicalization. Speaking of young men, or I guess older men now, Uncle Shaky Gurga, okay, Chunk Weigert, is in the crosshairs of Emma Vigeland, friend of the show, Emma Vigeland, because he said, I asked Elon Musk to put me in charge of cutting the Pentagon. And he said, what are your suggestions? I run the largest left-wing network online, and Democratic leaders have never asked me that question. The idea that they would take advice from a populist is disdainful to them. Now, which side seems to be more open and inclusive? Which side seems more welcoming? And which side tries really hard to drive you away if you disagree even a little with orthodoxy? Which side is asking for suggestions, and which one is demanding compliance and obedience? Autism Capital says, your pivot has been fascinating to watch. Yeah, Twitter algorithm loves this shit. Look at this, 52,000 likes, dude. Why is your uncle acting brand new? I don't know. I don't even for a second believe that any Republican will ever do something that is good, okay? I just don't. I don't believe it. Like, with the exception of like Thomas Massey, and I don't even know the full scope of his, sentiment and commentary. It's just like on the issue of Palestine, he seems to be pretty solid. But like, I just don't, outside of like certain pet projects, I just don't think that the Republican Party is even remotely interested in doing right by the American population. Like, they are very good at identifying things that the broader American electorate care about, and they're very good at filling the space when Democrats refuse to personally push for it, right? That is the unfortunate reality of the Democratic Party, is that they refuse to do anything about it. I've never heard a Democrat be like, man, what do we got to do about this fucking military budget? It's something that virtually every American that has heard about it is shocked by. There's a couple things that genuinely confuse people, okay? If you want to break the brains of the most normal, like the most politically normie guy, you can tell him two things. One, 32 states have made it illegal to protest peacefully against the state of Israel. You cannot boycott the state of Israel. You cannot demand sanctions for the state of Israel. And you cannot engage in any sort of divestment initiatives from the state of Israel. You will lose your job if you do so. You have to sign a petition in a place like in the state of Texas to be able to get a job in even a public school. That breaks every normie's mind. They're like, what? I thought America was a free speech safe haven. What the fuck are you talking about? Okay. Another thing that breaks people's minds, if you want to break up political normies' minds, tell them about the fact that the Pentagon has like trillions of dollars that no one knows where it went. Okay? Trillions of dollars just missing. They will straight up be like, what are you saying? Failed 7 audits in a row. When you say that, when you openly say that, they're like, oh my God, what the fuck? What are you talking about? How many trillions has the Pentagon not accounted for? Pentagon from responsiblestatecraft.com. This is back in 2023. Pentagon cannot account for 63% of the nearly $4 trillion in assets. The DoD regularly buys parts and equipment it doesn't need because it can't keep track of the parts and equipment it already owns. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, to be honest. I know it's not, but to a normie, I think it comes across like a conspiracy theory, but it's not. I mean, here, and if you want to understand like the way that the Democratic Party operates, here is fucking here's the leading progressive mainstream political commentator, Jon Stewart, a comedian, asking this exact same question. Here's what the response is.
A lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's decompose these pieces for a moment.
Please educate me on
Sure.
what
So an audit
the
is exactly what you just described,
Yes.
which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit or the fact that the DoD has not passed an audit is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there. So
what is
now
it
it's a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have.
Bro, can you imagine saying that to the IRS? Like, hey, excuse me, federal agent of the IRS overseeing my case. The fact that I cannot pass this audit that you have suggested does not mean that there is financial abuse or waste or fraud happening. You running ads again? My blocker is causing your stream to freeze? No, I'm not. I'm fully funded entirely by you guys who subscribe to me. Back in the day, you used to subscribe to avoid the ads. Now I don't run ads and you still subscribe because you want to support the show. But that is who funds this broadcast. For $6 or for free with a 12 Twitch Prime. Thank you, Austin 737-482-8274 for the 5 community gifted subs. And Eighth Rose Tempest, thank you for the 20 community gifted subs. Thank you, Prio97 for the 5 gifted subs. And Drusas for the 5 gifted subs as well. And Flocky. Thank you, Flocky. And Bobonat.
Have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have where. That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
So in my world,
Yeah.
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you
Well,
are
we didn't
not
necessarily-
responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? And when there has been reporting, I mean, this is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure I
that
didn't cause it.
an $850 billion
Y'all
budget
see?
to an organization that can't pass an
A moon landing. The reason why I'm ignoring you, despite the fact that you gifted 5 gifted subs, is because the moon landing did not happen. Okay? And I'm fearful of coming to that recognition. I'm fearful of coming across like I even believe that the moon landing occurred when it clearly did not. Okay? That's it.
audit and tell you where that money went, like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm.
Wait, Buzz Aldrin's gonna smack you? How about he fucking figure out his own goddamn life? Didn't he say he's pro-Trump? Isn't Buzz Aldrin pro-Trump?
Of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder
Yeah, he's
why
done.
that money isn't well accounted for. And especially when they see food insecurity on military bases, and they see...
You want to talk about that? Because that's a good... we should be talking... I mean,
Well,
I'm
it's
trying to
a little
understand
bit-
where you're trying to go, other than the dollars, which really bother you.
I think it doesn't really bother me. I think it's all connected.
Okay.
I think
tell
when
me,
I
tell
look...
me that story. Tell me how you're thinking
Well,
about that.
when I see a State Department get a certain amount of money and a military budget be 10 times that.
She's laughing at the concept of accountability. Your country's cook. Brother, that's the military. What do you mean? Tim Pool's hairline ignores me too because I'm non-existent? Yeah, I mean, what's less existent? The moon landing or Tim Pool's hairline? It's Tim Pool's hairline. That's why I ignored your 5 gifted subs. Thank you, Tim Pool's hairline. Thank you, Freeman, for the 5 community gifted subs.
And I see a struggle within government to get people like more basic services. And then that department that got that, I mean, we got out of 20 years of war and the Pentagon got a $50 billion raise. Like, that's shocking to me. Now, I may not understand exactly the ins and outs and the incredible magic of an audit, but I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's fucking corruption. I'm sorry. And if that blows your mind, and if you think like that's like a crazy agenda for me to have, I really think that that's institutional thinking, and that it's not looking at the day-to-day reality of the people that you call the greatest fighting force in the world. So I get back to this idea of like, I'm not looking to pick a fight with you, but I am surprised at that the reaction to these questions are, you don't know what an audit is, bucko. Like, that's just weird to me.
Drone strike incoming. Okay. The dismissiveness of the Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks in this clip is simply astounding. Jon Stewart points out the Pentagon keeps failing its audits, and she tries to laugh it off. This is the entrenched mentality the next Secretary of Defense will face. Yeah. If hundreds of billions of dollars not being accounted for and being seen as like impossible to audit over and over again is not indicative of waste, fraud, and abuse, what is? Like, this is a fantastic conversation to be having, because it's like you're basically undermining the concept behind why audits exist to begin with. You are just directly tackling the conversation on semantics by saying, why should there even